We recently started networking with some rescues in LA, and we transported on Friday. I transported a husky to a rescue in LA. And I don't know if you guys know who Luke is, the little dog that we had with the broken jaw. He's in surgery right now. So.
And our shelter manager basically led an online campaign to get funding for Luke's operation. He did that by himself. And I don't know, how many cats did you TNR?
Oh, and that's another thing, like the TNR, chat neuter release. I actually had made a Facebook announcement about the TNR, how we were going to do fundraising for it, and it didn't get good response. People just were like, no, you need to put all the money towards the dogs. And that's another thing. People here do not like cats, and cats deserve just the same amount of love as dogs do. But this year alone, with going to the Feral Cat Coalition, going to Yuma, going to Mexico, San Diego Humane Society, we've done almost 700 feral cats just this year.
So we're moving a massive amount of animals every month. We're providing services, a substantial amount of services. And unfortunately, I don't think the public is aware of the services that the Humane Society provides. For a long time, I think Devin and our staff members have kind of been like the last gladiator, standing out there providing as much services as possible under extraordinarily bad fiscal conditions. But we are willing and able and would like to work with agencies to increase our services to the community. And
I think part of the problem, in getting back to communication, is we have a very fragmented approach right now to animal sheltering and animal control issues. We have some cities like El Centro that provide our own animal control services. We have other cities that are under the auspices of the county, I believe, that no longer. So and it's very fragmented. I mean, our hours of operation for animal control are limited, and they're going to be different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. What we really need is, like, for a one-stop shop, if the IVPress would be willing to do this or something, but, just who do you call? If you have an animal that you're interested in low-cost spay and neuter, here's where you go. If you have an interest in dog training, this is where you go, or boarding, or if you need an animal picked up because it's deceased or something. I mean, just a who do you call list would be a great start as we start to move forward with other issues. But again, we're lacking in resources as governmental agencies. We're lacking in resources in private nonprofits. We're also lacking in professional service providers. I mean, with the loss of Doc Thompson and the retirement of Dr. Bowen, we are really in dire straits.
And I can tell you that our loss of Doc Thompson was a devastating blow to our animal welfare community. It crippled some of the services that the Humane Society was providing. It was a devastating loss.
Two people that I know that do also work with the Humane Society, Dee Forby of Man's Best Friend, and Phyllis Elijah of Southern County's Kitten Rescue. She does adult cats as well. Those two people are resources that I'm sure would love to be included in whatever list, because I know that frequently when I get phone calls, since mine is the contact number there, and they're not wanting us to spay and neuter their animal, they're wanting us to rescue their animal. And so I've got Humane Society's D4B, Phyllis Elijah, and I'm just, giving people phone numbers by them having called me, and because we have handed out a couple thousand cards at market days and things that we can do participate in.
I think one of the things that I know it's the most challenging thing to do, but we need two fronts at the same time. We have to bring our resources together in a better, more collaborative way, and we need to formalize those relationships rather than just maintain them as informal relationships. Trying to give people a whole menu of places to call. Maybe there's something we can come together and have a single 211 type of number that can be forwarded in a variety of places, and 211 is not outside of the realm of possibility that can maybe take this on if we can come together to do it. But the more difficult challenge that we have to mount now is we'll never have enough resources at this point in our community. We're stretched thin because our community is not handling animals in the way our community needs to handle animals. Whether it's a combination of education, whether it's a culture shift, and we feel that culture shift. We are feeling it from animal control of the tolerance for loose animals, abused animals, neglected animals. That tolerance level isn't where it seemed to be back years ago. So I feel that culture shift, but I think we still need to go further. This idea that no, we won't do that, no, we don't spay and neuter our animals, oh no, that's just too much, oh yeah, we have the puppies and this is how we deal with them, or we have the kittens, or we have feral cats and we just trap and we do a variety of things. There's never, unless we change fundamentally how our community views animals and interacts with animals, we'll never have the resources. We can't afford them. And it's not appropriate. And there's a reason that Yuma and San Diego and Los Angeles can take animals from us. And there are parts, as we learn from our consultant from Larry Gates, there are parts of our country in which they are looking for animals desperately because they have done the trap, neuter, and release in the cat and the feral populations. They have done spay and neutering programs for dogs. They have done a variety of things that makes animal adoption very much a premium. And they are looking for shelter animals to populate the shelter. What a concept. What a concept you would have if you could say, I need some more animals. We have more people that want to adopt than we have animals available versus what we have right now, which is this huge, disproportionate, unwanted animal population. So it's very hard to take that on at the same time where you have to give all the resources to actually managing it, because it won't happen overnight. And we still will have to manage this huge population of unwanted animals. But if we don't start at the same time changing very clearly how we do animals, we'll never get out of this hole. And there isn't enough money to throw into that hole.
And that's why I want to ask about communication. We talked a lot about education. Unfortunately, not everyone in the Valley reads the info of IVPress, so we can write articles and we can maybe put a list of services on the website, and we can do that. But aside from that, what's being done to go to events and have a booth or place signs around town, maybe in each park about where to call or what to do if you find an animal. You mentioned that you're at Imperial Market Days. That's great.
Yeah, Imperial Market Days. We've also done things at Petco, and we do have our cards and information out at Petco. So, admittedly, Petco is people who really care about animals are going to go to Petco, right? So that's sort of skewed. But we have, as I said, we've handed out thousands of pamphlets and brochures and flyers at these market days, and we've gotten such a tremendous response. Sue said it in an article that was in Borderzine last November, a year ago. We came in with this perception that people didn't want to spay and neuter their animals. Boy, we'll be wrong. We have over 100 animals waiting on a list for the next one-day clinic at Dr. Sato's right now. And they're 3 weeks out on scheduling.
You've done various fundraisers.
Yes. Weekly.
Yeah, the beauty, and you have a website.
Yes.
The website and a Facebook page.
And on Facebook.
The beauty of the SANS program is the fact that every single dollar that's raised goes into providing services. There's no administrative costs, there's no volunteer costs.
There's no building to maintain.
Yeah.
Just me and my phone.
This would be a great, I think SANS would be a great organization to showcase, like you say, getting the word out that there is this service available, but at the same time it comes down to there has to be commitment, financial commitment by the community to say that's an excellent program and figuring out how to make it.
We have gotten a few more larger donations recently because people, after the third year of being hit up to buy pies and cookies,
Say, here's my money.
I can't afford the calories, but here's a check.
Yeah. But I would think that our community would fit so many demographics for successful grant writing. I mean,
And we
we've
do that.
done that.
That is,
It's
And
just,
the last year it was very frustrating. I know that you've just applied
it
to.
is a complicated and burdensome task, and part of the problem is connecting our organization with technical grant writers, because there are a profusion of grant applications out there, but there are also a profusion of applicants. It is easier to chase grants than get private donations. That's the simple matter of it.
Right.
And part of what our nonprofit has the challenge of is trying to establish a grant writing task force, because that really will provide us the resources we need. But grants are the largest challenge we're facing.
and the issue that we had, wasn't it, that they had already divvied up their money? I mean,
Yeah.
even the
Our
big
grant
companies
last year went
are
in
feeling
March,
the
and
economy.
they'd already given out all their money, including $10,000 to San Diego County.
Are there volunteer opportunities at each of these organizations?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, kids always want
The,
something.
I can say that the Imperial Valley Humane Society will accept any volunteer that can provide any amount of time. We will also accept any probation candidates that need volunteer community service hours from the juvenile division or from the adult division.
Right now, we are a little understaffed. There's 3 other employees aside from me, that are working, and we really need volunteers. And
we'll also cater to your skill. If you have a skill in web design, if you have a skill in writing, if you have skills in advertising, we need volunteers in a variety of areas: publication, media, design, gardening, construction, repair, really anything the Humane Society would accept now.
one of the things that we're trying to develop is a better volunteer program, because I hear a lot that a lot of the volunteers say, well, I don't want to do all this work, because it's manual labor. It's very strenuous sometimes, and people don't want to do it for free. So what we're trying to do is develop a way where we can reward volunteers for, you come in and you've done X amount of hours, and so we give you like a gift card, or or there's kind of like you're a gold star volunteer, you're a silver star volunteer. Try to give. Make it feel like they're always, of course, it's very much appreciated regardless of how big the task was, but we really want to make people know that all of their time and dedication and hard work is greatly appreciated.
And the shelter would not
Yes.
for volunteers.
Well, we actually, we had a lady that fostered 10 animals with us, and she ended up keeping all of them. So I spoke to her and I said I wanted to do something to try to get it in the paper that she fostered these 10 animals, and she decided that she wanted to keep it. She actually took all sick animals. She used her own money to have them treated. She went through Dr. Sato and had them all treated and everything. And it was just, I've never, out of the 7 years of being at the shelter, I've never had anybody do anything like that. It was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. We're desperate for good news, because so much of what comes out of us is bad news. So anytime you have stories like that are extraordinary, sometimes we are limited on what we can write, just because, if we write up about one person that lost a dog, or one person that, and then we get 20 calls after wanting to write that same story, that's the kind of that fine line we have to walk on. But with an extraordinary person like that, we could definitely profile them if they're open. And I'll make sure you guys all have my cards before you leave today. But we want to make sure you guys feel comfortable calling us. I don't know if you've had bad experiences with the paper in the past, or maybe we didn't write up something that you felt was big, but we want to progress and move forward.
I think finally, not finally, but one concern the Humane Society has is also the level of prosecutorial attention given to animal abuse in the valley. We would like to see more. We have had people come over to the Humane Society and throw animals over the fence while the shelter is closed. We've seen animals with broken bones, broken jaws. We've seen animals that are woefully neglected. These are cases that the prosecutor's office should be looking at very seriously, because there's a clear correlation between domestic violence and animal abuse. In some counties, the animal abuse unit and the domestic violence unit are actually coordinated. They have the same unit because the correlation is so high. So we would appreciate more communication with prosecutorial law enforcement agencies, not only in coordinating cases, but also coordinating the care and treatment of animals that we have to maintain if they are part of the current investigation.
So, Maria, do you have any input on that? If the El Centro Police Department was going to, say, forward a case to the district attorney's office, do we do that very often?
No, not very often.
Is it because of a lack of
I
sense
think
of support for prosecution? Or?
I don't know that it's a lack of support for prosecution, but it's tough to pin down who did what to what animal. That's part of it. And we'd be happy to, write a report, because we do take people to court all the time for not having their animals on a leash, those kinds of things. And we've had good, we're getting better response from the traffic referee who hears that. So that has improved, and we don't feel like it's just a frivolous citation. And, the guys are really, they try to give people the opportunity. And it's a one-time thing, and then after that you're cited, because you can't have them listen, they're not vaccinated or spayed and neutered. So they do cite, and they do get prosecuted. But that's not through the DA's office. And the one time I can remember where we took a dog because it had a damaged leg. It was a little old woman who couldn't afford the vet. And so it was like, well, then let us have it, and we'll put it down so it doesn't suffer. And, it was a difficult situation, another sad story, because she loved the dog, but we were like, you just can't let it suffer that way, and it's suffering. So in that case, that wasn't an abuse situation, but, we're on the guys are out there with their eyes looking for things, and they come to me about, this isn't right, or that animal's tied up, and we cite, but once again, it's changing the attitude of that. Value those assets, they're animals, they're live things, they're individuals, and we just don't see that. So that's your question. We haven't had any contact with the DA with regard to that, from my knowledge. But that also might be something that...
The Humane Society would be happy to speak to the DA at any time. We would be happy to educate any prosecutor or any judicial bench officer. We can have our shelter director speak to them, or any of the other board members who spent a considerable amount of time in animal welfare.
Again, it comes down to burden of proof, I think.
That's what it comes down to. It's you need to have to talk to the officer or the
and we do understand that two of our board members are actually highly qualified attorneys, but there also is prosecutorial attention to it, strategic prosecution.
Well, it is incumbent on the officer who's writing the report in order to get success for that. So if they don't have the information, we're not going to get a resolution that we want. So that is really the issue. Is we can talk all day to the DA about what we want, or a judicial officer, but it's basically, do you have the proof that this person did it? You know how that works. Do you have documentation? Do you have information? And a lot of times, people they're awful. They throw the animals over the fence. We just recently had a big hole cut through the fence, and they came in and they stole a husky. And part of the problem is we can't have volunteers at our shelter because it is a lift station for wastewater. So the area is not conducive to having people walk around there and be there. It makes Public Works very uncomfortable for us to be there, but that's the only shelter we have. So we can't take advantage of that. We do have volunteers at the station who have gone out and handed out flyers, particularly at the beginning of the summer. We put out a big flyer that says what to do.